Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another video, bro. Hope you have an amazing day so far. We got some more scary animations. All right, I think it's like 3 this time, and I got my bowl of cereal. All right, but I'm gonna show y'all what I'm eating, okay? But before y'all knock it, I want y'all to actually try it. Look, look, look. I don't want to spill this. Bananas and Fruit Loops. Now look, don't knock it. Don't knock it till you try it, bro. Trust. This shit good. My grandma put me on. Ever since she put me on, bro, I've been eating this. All right. Anyway, hope you have an amazing day, bro. Let's get right into it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And yeah, I think I lucky just spoiled like one of the stories. Aw, dang. All right.
The night was thick with humidity, the kind that clung to your skin and made you wish for a cold shower. My blind date had been a disaster. He was rude, dismissive, and when I politely declined his offer for
Bro, I thought he was telling the story. I thought he was just yelling at this girl while telling the narrating the story. I'm like, bro, what do you mean he's being rude? You're being rude. But no, we in perspective here.
a nightcap, he simply shrugged and told me to find my way home. It was late, and I didn't want to argue, so I left without another word, regretting every moment I had wasted on him. I walked through the empty streets, my heels clicked against the pavement. The city was eerily quiet. The warm air pressed against me, and I could feel sweat trickling down my back.
Shut that strut with her.
I spotted a 7-Eleven up ahead, its fluorescent lights harsh and uninviting. But I needed a drink, something cold to calm my nerves. As I pushed open the door, a bell chimed above me. The store was deserted, save for a clerk who was slumped over the counter, half asleep, and a man lurking between the aisles. He was tall, with greasy, unkempt hair and clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in weeks. His eyes were on me the moment I walked in, tracking my movements like a predator sizing up its prey.
He look like the Joker.
I tried to ignore him, but I could feel his gaze burning into my back as I made my way to the coolers. I grabbed a bottle of water, my fingers trembling slightly as I twisted off the cap.
Whoa, hey, bro, you gotta pay for that first. Hey, look, I know if you can do that if you go and pay for it, but always just pay for it first, bro. Because if they can pull up, be like, you was stealing. You feel me? You gotta watch
I
out.
took a long sip, hoping it would steady my nerves.
Mama, it's a girl behind you.
The man was closer now, moving slowly, deliberately, as if savoring each step. I could hear his ragged breathing, the sound thick and wet like something was caught in his throat. My heart started to race. I turned to leave, but he was suddenly there, blocking my path. His eyes were wild and bloodshot, with a kind of manic intensity that made my skin crawl. He grinned, revealing yellowed teeth, and I could smell the sour stench of alcohol on his breath.
You need a gun.
Hey there, pretty lady.
You need
He
a gun.
slurred, his voice a low rasp. What's a girl like you doing out all alone at this hour?
Shoot
I
him.
tried to step around him, but he moved to block me again, his grin widening. How about we have some fun tonight, huh? I know some places. It'll be so fun. My stomach twisted in revulsion and I shook my head.
I'm not interested.
I tried to step around him again, but he leaned in closer, his hands brushing against my arm, leaving a cold, clammy sensation where he touched me. I recoiled. Come on, he urged. A little adventure is good sometimes.
I said no.
I would
Now
have
get
threw up on him, bro.
lost.
I pushed past him and hurried
I
out the
know
door,
it smelled crazy.
my breath coming in short, panic gasps. The warm night air felt suffocating after the chill
Hey, did she
of
pay
the
for the drink?
store, but I started walking faster. I could
She didn't pay
still
for the
feel
drink.
his eyes on me. I forced myself to keep moving, and then I heard it. Footsteps. They were heavy and uneven, shuffling behind me in a way that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I glanced over my shoulder, but the street was empty. Just a long stretch of darkened buildings and dim streetlights. But I knew he was there, lurking in the shadows. I quickened my pace. Each step felt like it was dragging me closer to something terrible.
I would
The
have shot him.
footsteps behind me grew louder and more insistent, and I could almost feel his presence closing in on me. I turned a corner, hoping to lose him, but the street was dark. That's when I started to run. I didn't care if I looked ridiculous. I just needed to get away. The footsteps were right behind me now, pounding against the pavement in a relentless
Where's everybody
pursuit.
at, bro?
I
What
risked
city you
another
live in?
glance over my shoulder, and that's when I saw him. He was running after me, his face twisted in a grotesque mask of fury, his eyes wide and gleaming.
It shouldn't
with
go by a
crazed
stick after
light.
this, bro.
He was close,
I'm
too
not gonna lie.
close, and I could see the wide grin stretched across his face. Panic surged through me, giving me a burst of speed as I sprinted toward my apartment building, the only safe place I could think of. The door was just ahead. I fumbled with my keys, still running. My hands shook so badly that I almost dropped them. I could hear him. I could feel his breath on the back of my neck, hot and foul. My vision blurred with tears. Then I heard the click. Seconds before his hands could reach me, I hurriedly threw myself inside. Slamming it shut behind me, I leaned against the door, gasping for breath. The silence of my apartment was almost deafening after the noise of the chase, but I couldn't shake.
You know what go crazy right here? Listen, I'm gonna pitch an idea. All right. Imagine a world with like automatic sentry turrets on every building, right? And it's like, if it looks like you finna commit a crime, like chasing down a lady down the street, right? It'll alert it to like the authorities, right? Like in a split second. And then somebody can press a button after verifying it with the camera, you feel me? After verifying that, you know, it's an actual suspicious crime. They can press like a button and then like have every sentry turret on every corner of every building just like spray down bullets on, bro. Just like, you feel me? Or you can just carry like a AK-47 with you in your back pocket.
The feeling that he was still out there, just beyond the door, waiting. I moved to the window, peeking out from behind the curtain, and my heart nearly stopped. There he was, standing under the streetlight, staring up at my window with the same twisted grin on his face. His eyes locked onto mine. His madness transcended beyond the glass window to reach out and touch my soul. He smiled wider. I froze. It was nice meeting you.
That's when I would have shot him. Clear headshot, bro. Clear view. I would open. I would be like, two shots down on the floor. Called the police.
Backed away from the window, and
Just
even
like
though
that.
I was safe inside,
Easy.
the terror that gripped me told me otherwise. Because deep down, I knew the nightmare wasn't over, was it? Working the night shift at 7-Eleven had its perks.
Why is it always a 7-Eleven,
The
bro?
quiet hours gave me time to think, to plan out my future, or at least that's what I told myself. But then there was Carl. He started showing up a few months ago, always parking across the street, just sitting in his car, staring at the store. At first, I didn't pay much attention. People did weird things at night, and
They both look creepy. Who the creep in this story, bro? I didn't like the way he looked at me.
maybe he was just another insomniac who liked to watch the world go by. But then he kept coming back, every night. Same car, same spot, same unsettling stare. He never came in, never bought anything, just watched. Who the hell does that? My unease grew into paranoia. I'd catch myself glancing out the window every few minutes, expecting to see his car. And sure enough, there he was, like clockwork. It got to a point where I couldn't focus on anything else. One night, I decided enough was enough. I wasn't going to let some creep mess with my head, so I walked out of the store, my heart pounding in my chest, and approached his car. "What the hell are you doing out here every night?" He looked at me, his face expressionless, and said, "Just waiting for someone." Waiting for who?
He like
You've
told
been
you.
sitting out here for weeks. What the hell are you waiting for? Without another word, Carl started his car and drove off. I stood there in the cold, watching his taillights disappear into the night, feeling more unsettled than ever. But the next night, he was back. That's when things started getting really strange. It wasn't just at work anymore. I'd leave the store after my shift and feel eyes on me, like
So they
someone
got a
was
stalker.
watching from the shadows. I'd turn around quickly, expecting to see Carl's car, but there'd be nothing. Then it followed me home. I'd sit in my apartment, every creak and groan of the building sending my heart racing. I'd check the locks 3, 4, 5 times, convinced someone was outside my door. The man was driving me paranoid. "You're losing it, man. Get a grip." But I couldn't. It was like he had wormed his way into my mind, making me doubt everything. I started avoiding mirrors, afraid of what I might see looking back at me.
Dang,
My
bro, you
sleep
got you on your
was broken
toes.
by nightmares, visions of someone standing over my bed, just watching.
There's no way he
Desperate
got
for
you like this,
answers,
bro. There's
I
no
started
way.
digging into the history of the area, trying to find anything that could explain Carl's behavior. That's when I stumbled
He's paranoid. I mean, he could probably want to find something, but bro, he is paranoid to the max.
upon the old news article at the local library. They detailed a series of violent crimes from years ago, murders, all connected to a 24-hour convenience store just like mine. The killer had never been caught, but the stories all had eerie similarities. Victims stalked, watched, mentally harassed, then attacked late at night. Jesus, what if he's not just watching the store? What if he's watching me? I became obsessed with the idea that Carl was connected to those murders. My paranoia spiraled, turning my every thought into a potential threat. One final night, it all came to a head. I was stocking shelves when the power went out. The store plunged into darkness, and my heart stopped. I reached for my phone, but the
But it's
screen
dead.
remained black.
Dang.
Dead. No, not now. I fumbled for the flashlight we kept behind the counter, the beam cutting through the darkness. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Someone was inside the store with me. I tried to stay calm, tried to think rationally, but the panic set in like a vice, squeezing every rational thought from my mind. Who's there? No answer. I heard the footsteps again, closer this time. I backed up, clutching the flashlight like a weapon. The beam caught movement, a shadow darting just out of sight. Then he was on me, a dark figure, faceless.
Is he not
in the
gonna move?
shadows, knocked
Bro.
the flashlight from my hand.
Bro.
I fought back, blind
Bro.
and desperate, feeling my strength waning as the figure overpowered me. He pinned me down, something cold and sharp pressed to my throat. That was it. I accepted that Carl had got to me in the dark. But just as I felt the pressure increase, there was a loud bang, and the weight lifted off me. I heard footsteps,
Oh, it was
frantic,
Carl.
someone
It was Carl.
shouting my name. The lights flickered back on, and I saw Carl standing over the body of the man who
He think he
attacked
Batman,
me,
bro.
a gun
What?
in his hand, a look of grim determination on his face. Carl? What the hell? He's been watching you, waiting for the right moment. I was too stunned to speak. Carl holstered his gun, breathing heavily. I'm an undercover detective. I've been tracking this guy for weeks. I needed him to make a
Dang.
move, and I used you as bait. Hope you don't
Dang.
mind. You used me? I didn't have a choice. He would have killed again if I didn't stop him. It hit me then. The real terror wasn't the thought of being watched. It was the realization that I had been living under the shadow of death without even knowing it. Carl hadn't been watching me. He'd been watching the killer, waiting for him to strike. As the paramedics arrived, Carl walked out into the night.
The
leaving me to
paramedics ain't gonna do
process what
nothing,
had
bro.
just
That was a
happened.
headshot.
The store was quiet again.
Called him
but
more.
it would never feel safe. Not after knowing how close I came to being another victim in the
I would've quit.
darkness.
I would have quit after that. I would have went to go enjoy my life after that with my life savings.
Working the night shift at the 7-Eleven store was usually
All right, hold on.
uneventful. The hours
Why is it all 7-Eleven stories, bro? It don't even say 7-Eleven stories up here, bro. What? Is 7-Eleven just cursed? Maybe.
dragged on, the hum of the fluorescent lights and the soft buzz of the cooler providing the only background noise. I liked the solitude, though. It gave me time to think, to clear my head after long days. But that night, something changed. It was around 2 a.m. when he walked in, a man in his late 40s, maybe early 50s, with graying hair that fell messily around his face. He wore a threadbare coat, the kind that had seen too many winters, and his eyes, sharp and restless, darted around the store as if he was searching for something, or someone.
Big head.
Evening.
He nodded at me, a strange smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. He moved slowly, almost deliberately, as he picked up a few items, a pack of gum, a bottle of water, and a newspaper. When he approached the counter, there was something unsettling in his demeanor, something I couldn't quite place. He set the items down, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a coin. It was old, worn, the kind of coin
Bro.
you'd find in a dusty antique shop. He held it up between his thumb and forefinger. Pick a side, heads or tails. I stared at him, unsure if he was serious.
You think he
He
Two-Faced?
didn't
What?
look like the type to be joking around, though. There was an intensity in his eyes, a barely concealed edge that made me uneasy.
No thanks. I'm not much of a gambler.
He
Pass it to the
ignored
next,
my
bro.
refusal, flipping the coin between his fingers, the metal catching the
Dang.
light with each rotation. It's just a game, honey. Heads or tails. My pulse quickened. His insistence was
I don't know
unnerving,
heads.
and the way he stared at me as if waiting for something made my skin crawl. I glanced at the door, wondering if I should call someone, but the streets outside were deserted.
I really don't want to.
He suddenly pulled an apple out of his coat pocket and
Is he a
placed it on the
clown?
counter with a quiet thud. It was a deep red, the kind that looked polished and perfect, but its presence felt wrong, like it didn't belong there. Pick a side. His
What was he
voice
finna?
was
He gonna
calm,
rob you with an
almost
apple? That's
soothing,
crazy.
but it had an undercurrent of something dark. My stomach twisted in knots, the air in the room growing thick with
Just pick a
tension.
side.
I
What?
didn't want to play his game, but I could
Just-
tell he wasn't going to let me refuse. Something
say
about
heads.
his eyes told me that this wasn't a game at all.
Fine. Heads.
I knew she was gonna pick
He
heads.
grinned, a twisted, joyless smile, and tossed the coin into the air.
He already
spun
tossed it, though.
slowly,
Whatever.
as if time had slowed down, and then landed on the counter with a soft clink. Heads. Huh, you're lucky.
What?
was that all about?
He looked at me, his smile fading, replaced by a cold, distant expression. I used to be a gambler, obsessed with fate. This coin, it was my lucky charm. It won me my first $100, and then we never looked back. But one day, it betrayed me. I lost everything. Money, respect, my
Why
life.
is he trauma
But then the
dumping
coin
in a
told
7-Eleven
me,
store?
inflict pain upon everyone who laughed at me. I shot every player at the table. Every single one of them. The coin said it was their time, not mine. My heart pounded in my chest.
You think he
This
Two-Faced,
wasn't
bro?
just a
What?
story. The way he spoke, the conviction in his voice, it was terrifyingly real. Worse yet, I had heard this story before, one which our town considered a forgotten legend. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Since then, I've carried out the ritual every time someone guesses wrong. He tapped the apple on the counter with a finger, his eyes locking onto mine. I felt cold, the blood draining from my face. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs felt like lead. He stood up straight, pocketed the coin, and walked towards the door. She was Cynthia. With that, he left, the door swinging shut
Who's
behind
Cynthia?
him. I stood there, frozen,
Who's
trying to
Cynthia?
make sense of what had just happened. My eyes fell on the apple, still sitting on the counter. I reached out hesitantly, my fingers trembling as they brushed against it. But when I picked it up, it was no longer the pristine fruit he had placed. The apple suddenly turned half-eaten, its flesh rotten and brown, as if it had been decaying for weeks. I dropped it in horror, backing away, my mind racing. The name, Cynthia, it struck a chord in me. I had heard the stories before, the urban legends of Bloody Jack, a serial killer from the 60s who had been obsessed with fate, flipping coins to decide the lives of his victims. He had been shot dead by police after calling them to a scene of his final murders, 6 men with whom he played poker. The police found him sitting by the bar, an apple in hand, waiting for them. The last word out of his mouth was his wife's name, Cynthia. My breath came in shallow gasps as I pieced it together. The man,
So she met a ghost?
the coin, the apple, they weren't just legends, but a reality.
Brother, so she met a ghost at 7. What's with 7-Elevens, bro? I think they cursed. Take them off the streets. I don't feel safe with a 7-Eleven on my street no more, bro. To get them out of here. All right, y'all. So I guess we had Joker and Two-Face in one story. Anyway, hope y'all have an amazing day, bro. A great night and an awesome week. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.